Welcome back to day 40 of our chess journey to 1500 ELO on chess.com. Let's jump on ahead into our game and look for an opponent. We get RG Leonard from the Philippines. Let's start out with 1d4. We get the Queen's Gambit. They play the Slav defense. Now I think I would like to play up like this. Alternatively, we could put our knight up here and pressure this pawn even further. However, I don't think this would work, as it might be difficult for us to prevent our opponent from holding on to this pawn if they take here. So I think this move is probably, or rather I was going to say here, I considered playing e3, which typically speaking is not a good move as it closes in our bishop. But how about queen to c2 then? But then we can't play this because it would still lose this. So honestly, this has its drawback. But I think we'll go on ahead and play like this. I haven't had time yet to look at Slav theory. Haven't had any time to watch any videos on it, but I will get around to doing that eventually. Let's play normal and logical developing moves here. Is this a move? Probably. I would like to play like this as well, but currently their light squares are quite strong. There might be an argument here for playing this. However, I wouldn't quite enjoy this following knight position. So let's have a quick look here. There might be an argument for playing this, and we could get this, and we might even drop back and create a battery towards their potential king castling. Now if we play this, they could capture and they could argue we had lost one tempo, but I think we would be fine with that. So let's play up like this and see what our opponent does. This I think is the most likely move here. There might be some alternatives, but they do play it. I don't think we should execute on this immediately though. I think we should just keep on developing normally here, and then we could get around to those plans. We'll bring our knight up here, I think. I'm expecting castling. We could castle 2. I don't think we should ever play this move, because then it's going to be difficult, I think, to create a lot of progress in this position. I'm waiting for this bishop to move up so we could potentially hit them like this. However, that might not be the best idea either. this might be an idea. Playing a3 to push up like this, grab space, and potentially create some queenside play. However, I would like to castle first, simply to get our king out of the center and allow for us to open up the board. So let's look at this. I think this might be quite decent, as it would grab a lot of space and allow us to activate our bishop here. It wouldn't be much of an activation considering this diagonal here is closed, but it might open up at some point. Anyways, it's more likely to open up than this diagonal is, because it's further back and more difficult to dislodge for our opponent. Now, because they moved this knight here, I'm expecting our opponent to play similar moves like to us, like this, but they don't. What does this move seek to accomplish? Honestly, I don't quite see it. I mean, it does create a phantom threat on this pawn here. However, our knight does defend it. Could we create a counter threat? This would hit the knight, but they could play this first. So let's not go for that. Instead, I think, because this does essentially nothing, we could just keep on rolling with our own plans. So let's just jump on ahead and play b4. So currently I'm looking at how we should rearrange our pieces here to get our optimal setup. I have been considering taking this pawn for a while, but honestly I'm not quite sure as to whether that would be a good decision or not. If we do take this pawn, they will either take this way or this way. If we get this, I think we are left with a better center. However, it might be a bit difficult for us to create too many threats, or at least any threats at all against this queen side, but I think we might have chances. So currently our opponent is thinking a lot here, and they settle on f6, Ben Finegold's favorite move. Now this, I think, should be a blunder. But why? It just looks awkward. But we can't quite play this, as they have this move. But the knight on the edge here seems to be quite awkward. But let's have a quick look here at what happens if we threaten this. I think the only way of defending it would potentially be playing f5. Which f5 is not necessarily the worst move in the game, but it's going to weaken their king even further, potentially. But I think f5 here might have been better than f6 in the first place. So we might be helping our opponent. So I just want to evaluate this quickly. Is this move order preferable to us? I'm not quite seeing it. However, in this position, do we have this move? No, then we get forked, and that's no good. So let's just go for the move that's going to help us develop, and it's going to have some upsides either way. Now this should probably be played, I think. This is going to weaken the king a lot, and so is this a move, I think. So after f5 here, how will we respond? I think we could try to open up the center potentially. This move will allow our opponent's knight to get into the game through f6. I'm curious here as to whether there is an argument for playing e5, a4 or not, just pressuring this pawn further. If they take here, we still take, but our pawn structure would be a bit weaker then. And it might be difficult to push this pawn, so it might be stuck in front of our battery here, which I'm not necessarily liking. We could try to play with our rooks here. This might be a way of playing. But if we just go and hit them like this, we will be left with an isolated pawn on d4. And I'm not typically fond of playing with isolated pawns. However, it's not always that bad of an idea, rather. Because they could be an asset as well, especially in the center, controlling powerful squares and allowing us to put our pieces on outposts in front of it. Now this seems to be a difficult decision for our opponent. It seems they really don't want to play f5. Or that's my assessment here at least. I don't quite understand why, because it would help them, I guess, push this pawn in front of the rook and potentially push it further down and create threats here. Now I want to reevaluate this capture. This would look quite bad for our opponent, I think, because of their pawn on e6. It would be a backwards pawn, and it might become an easy target for us. So let's have a look at the alternative, this move, which I think will leave us... Yeah, I don't think that's all that good for us. So which moves could we alternatively play here? I am looking at moves like this. This might be a move. I think I am considering bishop to b2 here. So let's go ahead and play it, so as not to spend too much time. Now, if we do get to trade our opponent's dark squared bishop, I think we would be quite happy. Simply because they have a lot of dark squared weaknesses here because of their pawn structure. So we get queen to e7. This is not really a threat. So how should we continue here? I really don't want to play this move. It's a bit difficult making a good decision here, I think. I'm considering this, but this would shut it down. How about we consider remaneuvering this knight? I think this might be okay. We could jump on into this side, prevent this move potentially, and we would open up our bishop here. So let's move back with this knight. The computer here might say this is the best move, this might have been the best move, this might have even been a good move. I'm not quite sure. It's a bit difficult to evaluate that moves that deep rather. But as long as we play logical moves, that should help our position. I think we should be in an okay spot. So what could we expect our opponent to play here? To some degree I'm hoping they played this, looking for a rook lift, because they would force themselves over here with the knight, which might be awkward. But they played this knight move here instead, which honestly does the same thing. This might be a bit awkward for our opponent. They would have to go back here. And then I think we could seize the initiative. So let's play this move. It's always going to be a good help to us. Not necessarily always, but now at least it does a whole lot for us. Do we have this move? That might be a bit too overzealous. It's a bit difficult making moves here in this cramped position. I'm considering this move, which might allow us to open up the king side here, or queen side rather, and defend this file. Now what should our opponent play here? They develop the bishop. Do we have this move? I don't necessarily think we do. We could hit our opponent like this. And if they take, and we take, this pawn is going to be defended. And we could potentially lock it down like this, at some point at least. This might not be the best move once again. However, it will grab the bishop here for us, which should be advantageous once the board opens up, and it will prevent us from spending too much time here. I see at some point we, I guess, got into the Chigorin defense, which I'm not sure when that would be. We transposed to the Queen's Gambit decline here even. At this point, we got into the Chigorin defense. Our opponent jumps in. And I think we could just grab this. This knight does not have any threats here. So let's grab the bishop here. We could play this, however it would weaken our king. There might be an argument for playing this, but not now. Now we are running low on time here, so I want to be a bit careful. We don't want to take this knight because the following offensive here would be a bit strong. In the absence of finding a better move, we will capture in the center here, simply because our recent positions under time pressure have been quite awkward. Now if they play this, they capture like this, which does create this weakness on e6. However, it might be difficult to exploit that weakness, at least for now. I would like to grab this file. Which does seem like a logical idea. However, this rook might still have some prospects here, so we might play this move here instead. This knight might always be threatening something here, so I'm realizing after this we can't just blindly jump in here, because then we would lose material. So this might be a bit awkward, as this would force us back to d1. So there might be an argument for playing f3 here, simply to dislodge this knight, to be honest, as it's not really hitting anything as of now, but it is creating some headaches for us. I'm a bit worried about ideas like this as well, as we don't have a lot of pieces to deal with the potential battery towards our king. This kind of a knight move seems interesting. It would open up this square for our queen. And I think if our opponent takes, this is not all that bad for us. We could go for this kind of a structure. And our opponent, I think most importantly of all, can't push f4. Also, this would kind of blunt this diagonal, and also hit this weak pawn. So that might have been the better move in this position just now even. And we might look to play this on the next move. Obviously, depending on what our opponent decides to do. Now there might be an argument for capturing like this and going like this. Queen to f7. I guess simply seeks to go for a checkmate attack. I think we could just jump in. This does take away those squares here as well, but that's not necessarily what I'm thinking about. What I'm thinking about are those ideas we looked at just now. Now g3 would lock this knight in place, so it couldn't be dislodged that easily. However, g5 here might be a move. It's a dangerous move, both for us and for our opponent, as it's incredibly committal. They go for it. This might force us to go back. However, if we do survive the following few moves here, I think we should be in a good spot. Let's go back. I was considering capturing here for a while on e4, but this didn't look all that good to me. Our opponent just jumps on in. Do we have this move? This would force the knights off the board, however they still have this, so that's no good. Considering our time situation here, I am looking to play this move, which might... I don't know actually, it might be an okay move. I simply want to remove some attackers here, so it's going to be easier for us to calculate. This is probably going to be played. However, they play like this, which might allow us to get some offensive going on here. However, this knight is hit by their queen. This would force the queen to move. So let's go for this. What happens here? Honestly, that might be awkward for us, considering this bishop. They go for it. So yeah, this is a bit awkward here. I'm not sure as to what the best move here would be. We might want to go back. I considered playing this for a second, but after this I didn't see any good follow-up. We simply like to hit this with a check. Now, which moves could our opponent look for here? Okay, they go with this. I'm considering this move to open up here. This looks like a pawn sack, but it might work. Honestly, I'd like to hit this pawn first, and then we could look for ideas like this. One minute left, so we have to play quite quickly, but also accurately in the face of this attack. I'm guessing, objectively speaking, our evaluation looks quite decent here. But we do have to be accurate, which is our main problem. One of the most important things here is this queen can't get onto this diagonal. Now our opponent can't play this move, which I think they wanted to, because of this bishop, which has just become a beast. They push their pawn. And honestly, I did not consider that move at all. This might be horrible for us. I'm not seeing a convincing queen move. This might not be a good move. I would like to get our rook here into the game in one way or another. Now what do we do in this case? Are they double rooks here? Yeah, this is quite awkward. Which I'm realizing is a recurring theme here in this game. Now I think we just have to blitz out our moves. This might be good. Or it might not be. I think we have to capture here. Otherwise this would be awkward, as it would break apart our pawn structure. On the one hand here, this pawn push here locks down our opponent's bishop, or sorry, our bishop, and it also locks down theirs, so we have one less piece to deal with. Oh, yeah, this knight move. How do we avoid checkmate in one? This might be first. That's awkward. I'm not seeing a good move here. yeah, this seems to be okay, luckily. But that's difficult to calculate on such short notice, or with so little time rather. But this does allow us to survive for a bit longer. We just have to be tenacious here. And now we could look to trade some pieces. But this is a move I didn't consider. Well, this is first. So we have to go here. This might be played, or they might go for this. Alternatively, this might even be a first mate. I'm not seeing any moves here. I'm hoping this is okay. We hit the queen, but it could go back. But this also keeps our defense here on f1. Now after this and this, what is going to happen? Honestly, I don't quite know. Our opponent has a lot more time here to calculate than us. They take our rook, which honestly I didn't quite see. And here I think we are going to, or actually we are already crumbling, which, yeah, it's awkward, but this might be another loss, as we don't have any compensation for this rook either. And after this queen trade, yeah, this might be awkward at least. This is first. Let's just play it. Could our opponent evacuate this knight? They might be able to. On the one hand here, I don't want to trade queens, but on the other, theirs is doing a lot more than us than ours right now. But after this, I'm finding it difficult to find any good ideas for us here. Our opponent could just double up here. Luckily for us, this bishop is not doing a whole lot, and it can't really enter through this diagonal. I think we'll just have to try to create some counterplay here. Now this knight is quite strong for the time being. But there might be an argument for a... I don't think there is a whole lot to do about it. Does this benefit us? I think it might. However, I'm realizing this pawn might just be free for our opponent. But then we could take their pawn here, and we might have some activity. No, they push here instead. Oh yeah, this would be awkward. Oh, 1 second left. Let's go back and hit this pawn. I didn't want to take here because this didn't seem very promising for us. Our one redeeming point here to make is our opponent does have horrible pawn structure at least. So if we are able to, say, win a rook here, I think we might have some chances. They won't be great, but they could probably be considered chances at least. Let's hit this pawn. They can't defend like this. So we might just win a pawn here. I am a bit worried about ideas like this. This, I think, should still win a pawn. We can't take here still because of this move. Defending here loses this pawn and gets attacked. However, I did miss an important idea here. This forces a queen promotion. And our opponent wins the game. I can show you why here. This is forced. And now I think we are going to get checkmated quite quickly. They go for another queen. I don't think we will wait out their moves here. So I'll go ahead and say, well played, RG Leonard, and resign. Now we did make a lot of mistakes again today, and I want to go into the game review and see where we did so. I see there is a recurring theme though, that we tend to lose a lot when we get attacked on our king side. I guess I'm spending a bit too long calculating each move, or it might be we're spending too much time during the opening, leaving us with not enough time to play through the attacks. Well, either way, let's jump on in here and see what we should have done differently. 72.1% today, and our opponent played with 81.1%. We did play theory moves here. I'll go ahead and pull out the analysis. Here I'm curious whether we had better moves or not. I wanted to look at this move. What would have happened here? E3 and this would have been okay for us. This wouldn't have worked. They would have taken this way, and B3 is quite thematic. Okay, so it's interesting to know here we could bait our opponent into an awkward position by allowing them to take on C4 during the semi-Slav. So next time we might not play this move, as I think it loses our advantage as white, at least some of it. We played a lot of theory moves here. We were the first ones to break out. We should have apparently played e4, which we did look at. Is this a theory move, a book move? We don't seem to get any visual aid here. It seems to be the best move, at least on low depth. Well, we played here, and this was a mistake. Once again, e4 should have been played. In hindsight, I'm glad I looked at this move at least, but I did not know the ideas here in this kind of position. So I didn't quite know that this might be an actual idea. So we did not play it. Here, we should have pushed the knight back. Sorry, gotten it back here and then captured. Now either capture here seems to be... Yeah, this does come back to the e4 pawn break. And after this, we would have had to voluntarily play with an isolated pawn, which is not something I'm familiar with doing. I don't have a lot of experience with this pawn structure, but I should probably not just blindly disregard this idea, at least because of it. But here we did play like this, and we missed this idea. Once again, we should have pushed our pawn. And here we should have played c5. Well, the differences are quite small. I guess the computer wanted us to get... Sure, this does make some sense, but I want to have a look at this continuation here, if they go all the way. Sorry, this and this. After a4, how do we defend here? I guess this battery is not a threat here, at least, because they can't dislodge this knight in this position. Well, we jumped in here. Capturing was not the best move. We should have played this. Well, we captured. And despite this, for example, being called a mistake, I'm a bit curious here, because the computer here says it's minus 1.28, but the evaluation bar says minus 0.3. And here on the stronger computer, it says, oh, never mind, here we go. Yeah, this was apparently a bad mistake, a bad move on this game review analysis, because it's a bit stronger. It does evaluate this as bad. Going back was best. This was horrible. Once again, f3 should have been played. We did not, and we got into this position once again. f3 seems to have been a thematic idea here. We should have not left this pawn here. Let's have a quick look here, for example. What would have happened here? F7, and I guess here we would have traded down some of their attackers, and they would have only been left with weaknesses. This was a mistake by us. We should have gone back here. and this apparently lost us the game. The best move was sacking this pawn, and apparently just arguing this is no longer a move because of our clamp here. However, I'm not quite seeing our idea after this kind of a rook lift, which might explain why this is not only -1 but almost -2, and this would have forced us to find the best moves. Now, did we have any way of recovering after this? No, we did not. From this point on, the game was essentially over. And this left us in a first mate position. Well, once again, thanks a lot for the game, RGL Leonard. Thank you to all the viewers for watching to the end of the video. That's our game for today, guys, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye!